November 29, 2018. The victim stayed at a modest roadside motel early in the morning, reserving room number 12 for 3 days. However, on the 4th day, the owner of the establishment sent his son to check on the guest who had not shown up. What the boy saw will forever stay with him, even if he shouldn't have seen it at all, not at his age, not ever. When I arrived at the scene, everything was already locked down. Police officers from the county department were bustling around, flashing red and blue lights piercing the darkness. I walked past exhausted residents trying to provide testimony, and spotted the medical examiner looking like he was about to break down as he called his mother. As I entered room 12, I realized that even after 2 decades of work, this was going to be a difficult case that I have seen a lot in my 20-year career. In 2006, the body of a missing tourist was found in the forest on the border of the county. The upper part of the body was burnt to a crisp, but the lower part was completely intact, along with the ground around it. Another case haunts me to this day. A farmer called to report a strange intrusion into his warehouse after the new year. Someone had turned on an industrial shredder for animal carcasses and left a pile of unexplained pulp nearby. The analysis showed that these were human remains, but no one could be identified. The only thing found was a small metal plate, similar to a business card, with the number 0002916 engraved on it. I share these cases for context. The unexplained is not new to me. But what I saw in room 12 will forever remain in my nightmares. Excerpt from the report, case number 24-0711, date, November 29, 2018. Time of arrival, 11:54 p.m. Location, room 12, Sir Sleep-A-Lot Motel, Yellow Springs County. Reporting officer, Detective Mark Lawrence, Yellow Springs County Police Department. Victim information, name, John Doe. Identification not yet confirmed through fingerprints or DNA analysis. Gender, male. Age, approximately 40 years old. Occupation, unknown. Suspects, none. The victim checked into the Sir Sleep-A-Lot Motel in the early morning hours of November 25, 2018, informing the owner, Mr. Robert Kelly, that he planned to stay for 3 days. No visitors or companions were recorded during the stay. Body condition: the victim was found on the bed. His body was horribly mutilated. The skin had been roughly removed, leaving some muscle areas exposed, and some bones completely open. Tooth marks were found on the right side of the pelvic bone. The victim's head was not found at the scene. What is particularly disturbing is that the body was dressed in women's underwear, lace stockings, and damaged satin panties. These items were likely put on after death. Addendum: the dental marks on the pelvic bone are consistent with a child aged approximately 3 to 6 years. It has not yet been possible to identify the exact person. Traces of blood: every wall of the room, as well as the carpeting, was covered in blood. The amount of blood is significantly higher than the volume expected for one person, which is about 2 gallons, 135% of the normal blood volume of an adult male. The nature of the splattering does not coincide with traditional traumatic injuries, suggesting the use of a pressurized device. Ritual object: 33 teeth were found on a desk in the room, laid out in a circle 10 inches in diameter. They were arranged with such precision that it indicates a possible ritualistic nature of the actions. Appendix: forensic dental analysis revealed that 32 of the 33 teeth belonged to the victim, identified as a Caucasian male in his mid-40s. One of the teeth belonged to a young Caucasian woman. Dental records later identified this tooth as belonging to Alyssa Hadland, a 24-year-old woman who disappeared in 1997. Her case was closed in 1999 due to lack of evidence. Crime scene report: the victim's tongue was found in the bathroom, placed in the sink. It had been completely cut off at the base, and the nature of the cut indicated the use of an extremely sharp instrument, possibly a surgical one. Notably, the tongue was lying alone, with no other marks or biological material, indicating that it had been deliberately moved after removal. The first team of officers noticed that the pay TV in the room was behaving strangely, turning on about once an hour. The TV will be seized for further investigation, including a search for fingerprints and other potential evidence. Additional information: both of the victim's eyes were found inside the TV. Someone had dismantled the screen and placed the eyes in the compartment where the cathode ray tube used to be. This placement suggests a symbolic or ritualistic overtone to the act. Personal belongings of the victim: the only item of clothing confirmed to belong to the victim was a pair of jeans. According to the motel owner, Robert Kelly, The victim wore them on the day of his arrival. The jeans were stained with blood, and 3 items were found in their pockets: a one-way bus ticket from Cosgrave to Mayor's Profit, a bag of apple gum, and a button. In addition, a pair of small leather lace-up shoes were standing by the bed. The shoes were not stained with blood, which may indicate that they were placed there after the crime. Appendix A. A shirt believed to belong to the victim was discovered 3 weeks later in a field near San Tomaso, a small town 240 miles south of Yellow Springs County. She matched the description provided by Robert Kelly. Analysis of the blood on the shirt showed matches to samples found at the crime scene, although a definitive link without identifying the victim remains unconfirmed. Appendix B. The boots found in the room date from 1909 and are of antique value. Due to their small size, they are likely to be children's shoes. Room environment. No signs of a struggle or damage to the furniture in the room were found. All items appear to be undisturbed, with the exception of the bedside table, from which a Bible was missing. According to witnesses, neither Robert Kelly nor his son David noticed that the victim was carrying any luggage. It is unclear whether his belongings were stolen or whether he arrived without them. Conclusions. The motive for this crime remains a mystery, and the methods used against the victim indicate a deeply thought-out and possibly ritualistic nature of the actions. I will not recount all the procedural formalities associated with the case. I will only say that over the past 6 years, it has not left me. It has haunted me in every sleepless night, every day when I reread the reports, trying to find at least some new clue. Despite the lack of evidence, and the absence of traces, I insisted that the case remain open. However, time passed, and when it was finally closed earlier this year, we were no closer to a solution than the day the body was found. This week I learned that the case has been reopened. This time by the FBI. Someone in the department obviously shares my obsession with this crime if they have turned to the feds. I was tasked with collecting all the digital evidence on a flash drive. As I looked through the reports, I had a strange feeling like I was visiting an old friend. After collecting dozens of documents, photos and testimonies, I made sure I hadn't missed a single detail. When I was done with the files, I was about to turn off the computer when I noticed one file. Witness_1.mp3. I had never seen it before. Or perhaps I had never paid attention to it. I decided to listen to it. The file started with static noise. The sound quality left much to be desired, but it was clear that it was a recording of an interrogation. The female voice of the witness immediately caught my attention. Below is a transcript of the recording. Officer, what were you doing in the neighborhood before you found the body? Witness 1, I live in room 14, which is next door to the crime scene. For about 2 weeks, maybe. I've recently had a hard time and I moved here from a van. I meant, what were you doing just before you found the body? Witness 1, yes, I'm sorry. I came back from work around 9 in the evening. I work as a cleaner in a primary school. I spent the rest of the evening in my room. I had dinner, watched the news and went to bed. Officer, can you describe how and when you found the body? Witness 1, it was around 10 in the evening. I heard a strange knocking coming from the next room. At first, I thought it was just a normal noise, but it became very loud, more like an axe. I decided to check it out. The door to room 12 was unlocked and ajar. I knocked and then went in. Then I saw him, this unfortunate man. Could you describe the scene? Witness 1, it was horrible. He was kneeling in the corner. His head was cut off. There was blood everywhere. My legs almost gave out. And then I saw my husband in the bathroom. Pause, officer, you said there was someone else there? Witness 1, yes, it was a strange man. I didn't notice him at first. He was looking out from behind the bathroom door and just watching me. When I saw him, we looked at each other for a while, and then he came out of his hiding place. Please continue. I assure you that everything you say can help in the investigation. Start by describing the man you saw. Witness 1, okay then. He was strange, let me put it this way. When I got a good look at him, I saw that he had a big bulbous head. Bald like a newborn, but with the back of his head hanging down and deformed. I think it was some kind of disease. Oh, what is it called? A boy I went to school with had something similar. Are you thinking of hydrocephalus? Witness 1, yes. That's exactly what it was. But his case was much worse. I'm sorry if this sounds gross, but it looked like a horrible octopus. The front of his head was thin, with a sharp chin and cheekbones. His eyes bulged, as if his skull was about to crack. His skin color was yellow and white, with cloudy, cataract-like eyes. He was at least 7 feet tall, and he was hunched over, reaching the ceiling. Can you describe what he was wearing? Witness 1. He was wearing a shabby black coat covered with red and green rags sewn together. It reached the floor, but I could see the tips of brown leather boots peeking out from under the hem. Interviewer 1. Was there anything else you noticed? Witness 1. Oh, yes. He was holding a strange object. It was like a lobster pot with a handle and 24 blades sticking out of it. Knives, razor blades, axe tips, chains. I don't even know how to describe it. Interviewer 1. What did you do when he came closer to you? Witness 1. I ran away. I just ran as fast as I could. I ran out of the motel and ran down the street. And then I realized that I had left all my belongings in the room. I didn't have the strength to start from scratch for the 3rd time, so I came back. And that's when I met you and the rest of the police. How much time passed between when you found the body and when you called 911? Witness 1. Oh, I didn't call 911, honey. Interviewer 1. You didn't? Witness 1. No. When I came back from jogging, the place was filled with police. They didn't even let me into my room. Interviewer 1. Do you know that? End of recording. After that, the recording became unintelligible, just a dull buzzing in the background. I sat in my old oak chair stunned. My thoughts were whirling in my head. It was a creature, inhuman, ugly, which seemed to have some kind of bizarre logic. But what was it? My wife came in and reminded me that she was going to bed. I kissed her goodnight, and turned off the computer. I left the flash drive on the table and locked the office. I changed my clothes, washed my face, and went to bed with my arms around my wife. Whatever had done this was still out there somewhere. But it was no longer my problem. Cursed Tales. Trash horror stories. Subscribe for a scream.